Welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy, Base the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe, share it with a friend, a colleague, a relative, anyone in between, enemies included. There's a few bits and pieces that come up over the last couple of days and I feel like it's only right I give my take on them. So, without further ado, that's what I'm gonna do. So let's get into it. So, first off, Eddie Hearn, yet again, seems to be in trouble with members of his US contemporaries, counterparts, whatever you want to call them. So he put up he had an interview, I think with Boxing Scene or one of those, whereby he said that, you know, Wilder wouldn't win a round against Usyk, but when you delve deeper into the conversation, he says, but you know, Wilder's always got the chance with the right hand and that could always make him a dangerous opponent. You know what they put as the headline, and you had Lou DiBella, Clarissa Shields and Andre Ward all basically coming and responding back to him, saying, well, Clarissa said he knows nothing, she wishes he'd shut up. He predicted that Savannah Marshall was going to knock her out, and now he's saying Wilder can't win a round against Usyk. He doesn't know anything about boxing. Now, with regards to her, it's funny, you're saying that he said that Savannah Marshall going to knock me out. The fight hasn't happened yet. So at this point, he's not a liar and he's not full of shit, because what happens now if she does knock you out next month? What are you saying then? So this again is a time where Savannah Marshall has Clarissa Shields in a tizzy. Like, Clarissa literally doesn't know what she's saying half the time, or she says stuff just to say things without actually thinking them through. But that's her. So then you've got Lou DiBella basically saying he wants Eddie to frame it a different way. But again, like, Lou DiBella's never been Eddie's biggest fan. He still probably holds bad feelings towards him about the whole DAZN deal that got him excommunicated from PBC. And then lastly, you had Andre Ward, surprisingly, who said that, you know, Wilder's definitely gonna land. But Ward, who wasn't necessarily like the biggest of punchers, his whole game plan was nullifying his opponent's strengths and playing to his. Nullifying their strengths, exploiting their weaknesses and winning that way. I mean, so why would he of all people not believe that someone like Usyk, who's essentially a ring general like he was, would not be capable of basically bossing that fight? So unless it's xenophobic bias by US media, that whole thing don't make sense to me. But lo and behold, it's Eddie Hearn in the news again, so it's always worthy to talk about. You guys, let me know in the chat what you think about those comments and how they came across, and then the responses to them, because to me, half of them ain't really make sense from the people that was giving them. So it's been reported that the Canelo versus Triple G trilogy pay-per-view buys in America have topped somewhere between 550,000 to 575,000. Now, from what I've heard, I think these numbers are majorly incorrect, purely from the standpoint of they are only able to, the people who pulled those numbers together are only able to track them through the actual, like the US digital buys. So I think that's on platforms like Barstool and any of the linear cable networks that DAZN had, you know, links with, being able to generate the figures. So there is a final number, which I haven't heard it yet. I've heard a number that, you know, is a lot different to that one, but that's the one I've heard, or that's the one that Dan Raphael seems to be putting out there. So I won't give any real statement until I actually know the proper figures, but what I will say is, if that was the final numbers, while it's not, actually no, there's no way to dress it like that would be a horrible number for Canelo. That would definitely be a downplay. That would also show that in America, like, you know, pay-per-view and boxing is just totally in the toilet, because he's the best that out there that they have, and those are the kind of numbers he's pulling in. Then there'd be absolutely no hope for a Crawford and Spence Jr. fight doing anything significantly close to that. That would end up on at least, maybe at most I should say, 300 buys if we're lucky, maybe 325 at a push. But like I said, I've heard different, so I'm gonna wait a few days, see if anything else comes out. I did see a tweet response from Eddie Hearn earlier from Michael Benson, basically rolling his eyes and, you know, showing the Pinocchio long nose, someone's telling Porky's emoji. So I'm sure an IFL interview or ID boxing, you know, boxing social or something, or maybe even his own broadcast is going to come out and Eddie's going to clear up those numbers or give a number that's more conservative or an overall estimate of everything that it's pulled in, especially considering that, you know, Canelo Bivol was supposed to have done about 600k. So I doubt this one would have done less than that, especially with the amount of, you know, sort of intrigue that appeared to be around the event over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, we'll see where that one lands later on in the week or next week, whenever those final numbers are revealed. So Joshua Buatsi seems to have pulled out of the Jean-Pascal Ibia final eliminator by way of not sending his contract back in time. Now, I don't know if this is a case of an administrative error, an oversight in that sense, or this is just a confirmation that he never really wanted that fight. Now, quite frankly, I said that was a great fight for him, and there's not really many excuses I can accept as to this fight not taking place. But there is two that I will accept, and one of them might be more possible than the other at present. So if we look at Friday at the, what was it, I think it was York Hall, that Denzel Bentley was facing Marcus Morrison. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that both Joshua Buatsi and Anthony Yarde were in attendance for that fight. And if it wasn't that one, then it would have been the Wasserman fight in Manny with Lyndon Arthur. But either way, both of them was at an event. I think it was the Denzel Bentley one. And they took a picture together. So then that leaves me to think Anthony Yarde ain't fought since last year, December. Buatsi obviously is looking for his second fight of the year. Could they potentially now be, you know, negotiating something to take place November, December time? Yeah, Yarde's got the Beterbiev fight supposedly, you know, sometime in the early quarter of 2023, but you can't have him out of the ring for over a year at this stage in his career and development, and the guy wants to get paid. Who better is he going to get paid against than Joshua Buatsi? So I thought, okay, if that comes off, that would make sense, especially since he's already was almost tied to, you know, BT Sports via way of that purse bid. Outside of that, there is a potential. 2 weeks ago, we did speak about a Callum Smith fight, saying that, you know, like, the fight's been offered to him, but he doesn't think that kind of fight would happen, because why would Callum Smith want to fight him if he's now mandatory when he can just wait for a shot? But I don't think Callum Smith at this stage needs to be waiting a year and a half, however long it could be, because Beterbiev, his next fight by all walks seems to be that it's going to be Anthony Yarde, and that will be January, February time, maybe. The WBC haven't called a mandatory yet, and I don't think they're next in his rotation of belts either. So he might be waiting a whole year, 18 months, because Mauricio Suleiman did say that you know, you're not required to make a mandatory defense until like every 18 months. That's what he said the other day. Before it used to be 12 months, but now it seems to be 18. So, I mean, who knows when that shot may potentially happen. I mean, I think Marcus Brown was the last one, and that took place last year. So maybe he might be in line for that shot, but he might want another fight. He's only fought once this year, only fought once last year. Maybe he wants to be a bit more active, get a bit more in the tank. So that could be an interesting fight as well. And if either of those got made in place of the Pascal fight, especially if it was back on sort of the Matchroom DAZN platform where Joshua Buatsi would be either A-side or at least treated, or guaranteed that he was treated fairly, I should say, because I can't speak for Frank's practices with Queensberry, but he was definitely going to be the away fighter there, unless Frank was looking to wine and dine him to try and bring him over there long term, who knows. But it's a thought. Either way, I'm not happy that he's ducked the Pascal fight, but like I said, if he's got one of those other fights in there, then I'll rescind my duck accusation, because those are just as good, well, profile wise at least. One of them is bigger and the other one I think is a more dangerous fight personally. So yeah, we'll wait and see for that, but that's my thoughts on that topic at the moment. Last but not least, I guess sticking with Queensberry and old Frankie boy again. So it looks like the talks between Dillian Whyte and Daniel Dubois have broken down, because Frank either doesn't have the money to pay Dillian or undervalues what he thinks Dillian brings to the occasion and is not willing to pay him what Dillian's asking for. So from what I've heard, Dillian's looking around £3 million, about $3.5 million, that might be. And apparently Frank has offered him considerably less than that. Now, if we know Dillian, like, one thing he's not going to do, especially at this point in his career, is fight on the cheap. He has a certain market value. He's been paid a certain amount being the A side of his fights with Matchroom and Sky over the last couple of years. I'm sure in every one of his fights I think every one of his fights since the Oscar Rivas fight, I think he's pulled in excess of £4 million after pay-per-view sales and everything else. So asking for 3 doesn't necessarily seem like a bad idea. Plus, you could have potentially put that on box office if they really wanted to. I mean, they've put in Joyson Parker on box office purely based on what the both guys want for the fight. I'm sure Dillian Whyte versus Daniel Dubois would, do a lot more seats in the stadium. Not the stadium, sorry, the arena. It doesn't fill a stadium at all. But in any arena, I'm sure it would do more seats than what Joyson Parker's currently sitting on. So to me, it would make a bit more sense. But look, I mean, he's gonna have options in other places, so we'll see which other avenues he goes down. But it looks like Frank's gonna have to find himself someone else for Daniel. I mean, put in the comments below who you think would be some decent opposition for Daniel to fight in November. I'm not gonna give you any hints. I've got a couple names in mind. I might drop those in a later video. But yeah, let me know. But look, that's pretty much my takes so far for today. I'm going to be filming a few other videos after this to drop later on this week, just in case I don't get a chance to do anything while I'm in Manchester, because I leave tomorrow and it's going to be a bit techie. So for that being said, thank you for watching. Smash the like button, and for right now, Hardcore Casual out.